So let's see. You joined Visual Concepts in 2004, if I have that correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think the sports video game world has changed in that time, these last 14 years?
14 years. It's wow. When I first got in the industry, it was much more. It was simple. Things where everyone kind of looked the same and played the same. If you took off the jerseys and took off the skins of the players and you just had skeletons running around, you probably wouldn't be able to tell who was who or what team was what. And so I think where it's grown the most is kind of in what makes the NBA great is differentiating, your Simmons, your LeBron, Jimmy, like all these guys have very different games.
Yeah.
Very different play styles, very different strengths and weaknesses. And so I think where it's grown the most for me is trying to separate that. Like every team is playing different, every player plays
Bring out
different.
the individuality.
Yeah, they're kind of like bosses in other games, Like LeBron
That's a good way to put
he's
it.
got skills that other guys don't have.
Right.
And so to try and bring that into the game and make that like a thing, that's kind of one of the biggest evolutions I think the game has seen since I first started.
So how about from your perspective as the gameplay director, take me back to, we're kind of maybe nearing the end or sort of we've crested here in the Xbox One PS4 generation. Mm-hmm. When you guys moved from 360 PS3 to Xbox One PS4, what was the best part of that for you as a gameplay director?
Well, for me specifically, it's always been that design gets driven by technology. And so seeing what
Is that because the game is the game? You're making the game with the same rules every year.
Yeah.
It's the technology that changes.
Yeah, so we got like kind of the easiest. I always tell people we have the easiest and the hardest job in the world because it's easy in the sense that we've got a visual target. We've got the NBA. We know everyone knows
Yeah.
what basketball is supposed to be like. But for us, the challenge is year after year. How do you make that fresh? How do you make it? How do you make that something that's fun and interesting through the lens of a gamer? So for us, a lot of the time, it's really what can the technology bring to the table that's going to drive us forward and push us forward and allow us to do new things on the court that we haven't been able to do before. So that's always one of the big exciting things with a new console jump, that kind of just a jump in technology.
Yeah. So do you remember back any sort of gameplay, any sort of leaps that you were able to make from last generation to this one? They're probably par for the course for you now.
Yeah.
Here, several years in, 5 years in.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing for us, it's so hard to think of them as years, as 2K 17, 18, 19. We don't think of them that way because we've got like this roadmap that
I was going to ask you
eternal.
about that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we've got this end goal, which is perfection, and we just strive toward that goal every year. And so it's hard for me to think of when we hit these milestones because sometimes they hit mid-development season, and sometimes we don't see that jump until the next game or 2 games after because we're working on an underlying low-level technology or something like that that's going to not pay off for a couple of years. Does that make sense?
It does.
So there's not really one thing. Probably one of the bigger ones that I can remember is just advancements in our tools. So we did a lot with animation graphing and kind of trees and how to build those dynamically and how to have them be done by producers and not where everything was engineer driven. It used to be in the old days, if you wanted something done, you're like, write a design on paper basically and hand it to someone and say, please implement this for me.
Yeah.
And the way we go about things at VC is we kind of spec out what we want, or we say, here's a tool that could make us be able to build things on our own, right? And so I think that's where we started to make more strides, is like offload the engineers by having them not spend time doing all of the hands-on stuff and then push it more on the producers to
And does that
generate
allow
content.
you to then go faster so that then you can maybe make more of the changes on your wish list every year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's more people doing more stuff, more hands-on stuff. So we have like us production guys, we can churn out new content, we can kind of change features and build features while our engineers are spending time doing more like the heavy lifting and the stuff that's gonna be the next iteration of a tool or the next iteration of a feature.
So what, we're coming up on a switch over again, hardware-wise, PS5, the Xbox Scarlet stuff's on the horizon. What are you hoping new tech will maybe allow you to do when you, because you've got to kind of salivate a little bit, like, oh yes, I'm gonna get more overhead to play with here in a couple of years, whatever it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what those things are. I mean, it's always nice to have more memory, faster processors, more cores, things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand what goes into all that stuff. So we've got, just genius tech guys and guys who run the tools and the engine, and what comes out of those, like their work is really where I see it, like at the end of the tunnel is like, oh, well, now we have the ability to do this. And I can't even say what that would be right now.
Sure.
Because it's something that I probably haven't thought of. Sometimes it's just like a new physical model or a new way to, I don't know, performance. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But when it's presented to us, then we get to then go into our little lab and be like, oh, how can we use this new piece of technology to push the genre forward? And so that's where it gets really exciting.
Right.
On the design side.
You kind of touched on this already, but when you're going every year, like clockwork, NBA 2K ships every September, basically every year now. Do any of the games end up standing out in your mind for good or bad? Like, oh, 2K14 was that was the thing, or gosh, yeah, 2K17 was this.
Yeah.
Or does it all just sort of blur together for you?
For me personally, it blurs together because every night I'm seeing something different. So for us, it's like improvement. Oh, something broke. Improvement. And that's all year long. We see that. And then at some point, we're like, okay, the game's done. Stamp it. And then that's kind of like the version, right? And then we don't stop. We just keep going. And then, so for us, it's, at least for me, they don't stick out so much as, the daily development cycle. Nothing really pops out as being like, here's one year that was just right here, and another year that just fell off, or it was kind of just, it's always ongoing. And every game, I feel like improves. Sometimes we take steps back in certain areas and whatever, but yeah. But there were some that stick out. I mean, 2K11 sticks out.
Yeah, that's...
and that's one because that's when I came back to VC, and that's when MJ was back in games for the first time in however long that was. And so it was a special year, that one. My first title, NBA Inside Drive 2003, will always stick out as being like an accomplishment in my life to have my first game published. But yeah,
do you
other
still
than
have
that,
it?
I do. Yeah.
Do you ever play it just for?
No.
No.
No, it's like
do you just
I
kind of
look
have it
back
on a
on
shelf
it.
somewhere? Or?
Yeah, it's funny. Like people ask me that all the time. Like, do you go and play the game every year? And it's like I kind of don't, because I have my dev kit. And I get so excited for every little change.
Yeah.
And literally the day we ship 2K19, the next day I'll be like trying to look at something for 2K20, and it's different. It's all of a sudden the game is no longer the same for me. So I'm most excited just to keep playing on the dev software, the dev kits, and
Do you keep do you just keep an original Xbox at home that works? Just in case you ever want to fire up Inside Drive?
Yeah, I don't have an original Xbox. I couldn't even play if I wanted to.
Let's get this man an original Xbox, just in case. Or you got to petition the backwards compatibility team, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So that's a whole other ball of wax.
Please support Inside Drive 2003.
So you